Hello, I'm Hayden, and welcome back to my digital artifact. In this episode, we'll talk about the future, and that means I'll be talking about what the future might look like with blockchain technology and Metaverse. But before we get to the main point, I would like to talk about something else. So, last episode we talked about the present state of NFTs and Metaverse, and this included some knowledge about these technologies and the problems that may arise from it. And the reason I talked about the present state of these technologies is because we do not ignore the present when we are talking about the future. This is according to Alvin Toffler, and a good understanding on the past is important in planning in the present and for the future. So now that we have finished discussing the present, we can move on to the future. Yeah! So let's talk about the preferable future. So the good future that I picture is that everything is decentralized and anyone can do anything without some intermediate entity. So let's say people can transfer money to each other using, and with blockchain technology they can transfer it directly with each other, as opposed to now which they have to do it through a bank. And blockchain and Metaverse will bring a qualitative change to people's lives and make our lives more enjoyable and meaningful. And I also picture that NFTs will truly digitalize goods as opposed to merely representing them. That means I picture that NFTs will eventually become the goods themselves, and people can live the life they want regardless of any boundaries through their virtual identity. So people can essentially get an other identity that they want and they prefer and live that way. And most importantly, the preferable future that I picture is that people in this virtual world are respectful to one another. But we can also easily picture an undesirable future where people will end up having little information privacy because provider companies disregard their users' privacy. We can also imagine metaverses that end up centralized because everything is surrounded towards the metaverse provider company. And plagiarism, art theft, etc. in NFTs markets might also be widespread, and crimes, including sexual crimes in the virtual world, might be very prominent. And social issues like discrimination, worker exploitation, etc. may also be exacerbated in this future virtual world, and the offenders might be hard to trace and be prosecuted because their identity in this virtual world is, well, virtual, and it might be difficult to trace this virtual identity back to the actual person. And worst of all, I think virtual spaces will be largely unregulated if things develop in an undesirable direction. So one may ask, what's wrong with blockchain technologies and metaverse? And I think that the wrong is not at the technology, as I think it is only a tool and not inherently right or wrong. But it largely depends on how the people use it and what system the technology is used under. As of now, there are a lot of people who as disregarding the consequences of their actions, and they may potentially hurt others, or they even like hurting others. And people who are racist and sexist, etc., will persist their discriminative behavior in the virtual world because they will just bring their ideology to the virtual world. And companies under capitalism, especially monopolies, have little incentive actually caring about the user's needs. So I think there needs to be a change in the people or system. Otherwise, we'll merely be relocating our actual life to a virtual world where it will be as messed up as our actual life, if not worse. And I think what we really need from the future and from blockchain technology and metaverse is a qualitative change where people's lives will be changed for the good. It will be more enjoyable, more meaningful, and people are just treated as people and be respected. So this is it for this episode, and for next episode I will talk about how we can work towards a better virtual future. So this is the end of this episode. Goodbye.